Recording now.
Okay, so thank you for being back. It's an honor and a great pleasure to have José Luis Sánchez with us. He's a senior threat intelligence researcher and developer in BlackBerry Cylance, right? And he's also part in an ENISA ad hoc working group that is producing the ENISA threat landscape reports every year. And he's going to provide some information about remote access Trojans and InfoStealers in Spain and Catalonia, right? Okay, thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Can you switch the presentation, please? All right. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you, Manos and Basileios, for inviting me here today and talk about RATs and InfoStealers, some campaigns that we are tracking right now in BlackBerry Cylance in Spain, with a special focus in the community of Madrid and also Barcelona, Catalonia. So here we are going to talk about some insights that we are still researching and we have published some days ago. And you can get the information in our public blog spot. So let's start with the presentation. My name is José Luis Sánchez Martínez, also known as Joselillo in the community, working in, as I said before, BlackBerry Cylance. Many of you may wondering if we are still doing mobile phones, but we no longer doing mobile phones at BlackBerry. We are doing now threat intelligence, and also we have EDRs and EPE products in order to get security in the ecosystem, no? in the organizations. I am also a member of the other working group in cyber threat landscapes for ENISA, and you have there my social media if you want to contact with me and you have any doubt after the presentation or whatever. I will help you if you have any doubt. So the agenda for today has only 3 points. The first one is the context. It's important to understand why I am talking about these kind of threats today, because as a threat researcher, you have to take into account some context like geopolitical matters in order to analyze some campaigns that are happening right now, not only in Spain, but also in worldwide. After that, we have a dark web section where we are going to talk about some dark web, and we are going to see different entities that are important to know, like the vendors, the people which is buying information in the dark web and other stuff. And finally, we are going to see some campaigns that we are researching right now, and we have published previously, 2 days ago, more or less, and we are still researching these campaigns and seeing what is happening here in Spain and the different victims that they are trying to carry out. And finally, if you have any doubt or whatever other question, let's discuss and see what we can share between us. So let's start with the context. First of all, we have to ask ourselves, for those that are from Spain, what's happening here? As probably many of you know, there are some attacks that are happening against public institutions, and not only public institutions, but also for private companies based in the entire country, but specifically in Catalonia and also in Madrid. For example, we have the recent attack of the clinic hospital some weeks ago, where there was a ransomware gang infecting the entire infrastructure and encrypting the files. and after that they were like leaking information in the dark web, where they got information like the people who is working in the hospital and the patients and other stuff. So it's one of the multiple attacks that we are observing right now in the country. We have also, some days ago, it was like a week ago, I think, more or less, the city council of Alcalá de Henares was also infected by another different criminal group, where they got access to the computers, and I don't remember if they encrypted the information, but they got access to the computers of the city council of Alcalá de Henares. Different companies like Hyundai also, and we have, for example, the Spain tax agency, where we have focused investigating because there are multiple campaigns against this specific company, public company of Spain, and we are going to see the campaign that is happening right now is not is still working, the campaign. We have shared some insights about this campaign, and we are going to see the information that we have analyzed. So as we could see, there are special interesting companies based in Catalonia, because we saw like between the 20 and 30% of the attacks based on the campaign that we have analyzed were companies based in Catalonia, and also there are like 15% based in Madrid. So we are going to see that after. And it's important for us as a threat analyst, as I said before, understand the geopolitical matters that are happening in our country in order to get more knowledge of what will come in the future, what kind of attacks come here in Spain, and not only in Spain, because we are not only focusing on Spain attacks, we are also focused on attacks happening in United States, Ukraine, Russia, with this war, and other countries, of course. So here in Spain, what is coming next month is, like, for example, the Spain general elections in December approach. So last election we have like some attacks suspected from Russia, where they were trying to, let's say, modify the final result of the elections, as they were doing also in the United States. We have also the regional elections, including the Community of Madrid, which is important here in this country, in Spain. For the next months, we are going to have the President of the Council in the European Union from June to December. Also another important topic, because we probably are going to be targeted by other countries like Russia or China in order to get information about that specific council. And there are other events like the income tax return that starts a week ago, more or less, and which is focused the campaign that we have analyzed. So for us, it's important to understand the geopolitical analysis in order to try and anticipate future attacks that can be carrying out in the country. Now we are going to see the dark web, because after that, some of the attacks that we are observing are the cybercriminals are selling the information in the dark web, and we are trying to get as much information as possible from the dark web. We have users there. We have people which is trying to interact with the cybercriminals, even also trying to buy something in order to get if the information is real, or they are giving fake information about some customer or whatever. So first of all, in the dark web, we are going to see three different entities. The first one is the market. Markets are like the platforms that the cybercriminals are using to sell or buy information from other companies. For example, if you have a phishing email with a malware attached in the email, which is an InfoStealer or RAT, and after deploy the RAT and InfoStealer in the computer, you are able to get information like user account from the email or other corporate applications. That information after the infection probably will be published in the dark web. So these markets are the platforms that used by the threat actors to sell that information, and other cybercriminals are there to buy the information in order to compromise or to start another different infection in the same company. Vendors are those cybercriminals that are usually doing operations. They are infecting machines or users and selling the information after that in the dark web. And the buyers are the people who is interested to buy information either for another campaign that they want to start, or maybe to sell the information to government or something like that. When there are also motivations in this kind of campaigns to perform espionage activities. Let's start with the platforms. Platforms are usually the application that you can use to buy information, as I said before, information or accounts in general. There are forums also, not only platforms where are listed the user or accounts compromised previously and the cybercriminals are selling. There are also forums where you can discuss with the cybercriminals and, let's say, ask for any piece of information to verify that the information that is selling is real and not fake. Or you can even ask for, try to infect new companies in order to buy information in the future. So it's not only platform where you are seeing user and password, it's also forums where you are discussing with the cybercriminal directly. Sometimes you need to be referred to access to these kind of forums. I mean, if you want to try to get access to some forum in order to see what the people is selling there, probably you are not going to get access, because you have to need any person in the forum giving you like a refer in order to get registered into the forum. So no, it's not possible sometimes to get access to the forums. The payment is made with cryptocurrencies, usually Ethereum or Bitcoin, because after all, if they are using these cryptocurrencies, sometimes they are not, let's say, followed by the authorities from the different countries. Some platforms that we are seeing, the first one is the Genesis market, which was closed some weeks ago by the FBI and also other policies from different countries. That market was used to sell information about users and password, and not only users and password, but also like a fingerprint from the users. I mean, you could buy there like a fingerprint from user where you have the IP address or the range of the IP addresses that usually used to connect to the platforms. You got access also to the operating system used to connect to the platforms. Also you got the different language used in the browser and other information, because everything that I am seeing, all that information was like compiled into a cookie or something like that into the browser in order to get access to the same application that the users were accessing. You were able to access to in order to get information or whatever other stuff. So Genesis market was closed, as I said, and there is also another forum called usms.me, which is related to a let's say famous Spanish hacker called IOSec, which was arrested some weeks ago also here in Spain. And there you have information from Spain specifically, because as he said, he was able to join multiple public organizations here in Spain, and he has information from all the Spanish citizens in theory. So you can base that information in that specific form. So as I said before, Genesis market was closed by the FBI some weeks ago, and there was also collaboration of the Spanish police and Guardia Civil, which is also from Spain. And if you try to access nowadays to the forum, to the market, you are not going to access, because it's closed right now, and you are going to get some of these errors right now. Okay, so vendors. Vendors are the cybercriminals vending machines, usually with RATs and InfoStealers. And usually RATs and InfoStealers, because after all, those kind of malware are the ones that are developed by steal information at the end. I mean, RATs are used to get access remotely to the infect machines. So if you have remote access to the infect machine, you are going to be able to steal whatever you want from those computers. And InfoStealers were made for that specific purpose, steal information from the system once it is installed in the computer. Cybercriminals deploying phishing websites are also another, let's say, actor selling information in the dark web, because sometimes phishing websites are used only to get information from the accounts, user and password. After that, they are selling the information or maybe using it for other purpose, as we are going to see in the next slides. We have also insiders in these kind of forums because sometimes we are seeing that people which is not happy in the company that is working for, they are selling information in the dark web. So it's also another actor that we are observing, and there are multiple other actors. So as I said before, IOSec was the Robin Hood, the Spanish Robin Hood for the Spanish people, and he was arrested some weeks ago. And in the right, you are seeing the Telegram channel related to IOSec, which is the platform used to distribute that there are new database or new information into the USNS webpage to get to the users access and buy whatever they want related to the compromise that IOSec was doing in the past. Market buyers are people also related to cybercriminals, of course, because there are different types of cybercriminals. I mean, usually ransomware gangs are buying information from access, from remote access previously infected by another cybercriminals. So if I have access to some RDP exposed in internet and I can buy that access to deploy my ransomware, it's worth it because I am not infecting previously the machine. I just have the user and password to access to the RDP, and after that I can deploy my ransomware and encrypt the entire network or the entire organization. So it's easy for them infecting new machines. We have also government-sponsored APT actors. Obviously, there are also behind these markets APTs. For example, as an APT, I mean like groups sponsored by governments. For example, APT 29 is a suspect group sponsored by the government of Russia. It's a group which belongs to the national intelligence of Russia. So it's an example of group that is also behind these markets, usually to buy information and to infect other organizations. We have also activists that want to buy information from whatever company and after that claim for the authority of the attack or whatever, for whatever purpose that the activist will have. And finally, we have also script kiddies, people which is starting the cybersecurity ecosystem and they only want to learn about how to infect system or how to do whatever other stuff in the system, buying accounts and passwords from previous compromised computers. Now we are going to see the campaigns. Specifically, we are going to see a campaign that we were researching at BlackBerry Cylance, but first of all, why phishing is still working right now. From phishing 2, I take out this slide. So phishing is still working because there are more dark web markets to sell the information. As more dark web markets that we have, more phishing probably we are going to see in the future, because at the end, in the past, phishing websites were made to get that information, those user and password, and maybe publish or in some link, in some public source like GitHub or other pathing or other sources, but nowadays they can sell that information easy in the market. So it still works. Why? Because once you have access to some email, you can send email from that specific victim to other companies, and that's work because if let's imagine a typical phishing campaign where the threat actors are using Gmail accounts or Outlook accounts to send the emails. So now imagine that you are able to send emails from some public institution compromised previously to some private or another public institution here in Spain. Probably the victim is going to have more confidence in the email because the email is coming from a confident source. So it's worth for start a new campaign from that specific email compromise. It's worth also because you can identify new platforms using the same email address and the same password. In other words, sometimes we are using the same password to access to multiple platforms from our organizations, or maybe other platforms like social media or whatever. So once they have access to the email account with the password and username, they are going to try probably to access into new platforms related to the corporation, or maybe social media and other stuff. It's worth also because they can sell the information at the end. Phishing websites are made to get email and password, so with that information they can sell it and get some money back after the campaign. And as I said before, also there are motivation related to espionage. So sometimes they are doing nothing in the email. Once they have access, they have, let's say, suppose that they have the email and the password. They are still in the email just reading what is going on in that specific inbox, and after that is filtrating information to some government or some platform, but doing nothing. No, it's not sending any email, or it's not selling the email account with the password, just to espionage motivations. The campaign that we have been tracking since January is now published. We have published this information 2 days ago in our blogspot in blog.blackberry.com, and you can see all the details in that specific blog about the entire campaign that we were researching. So now we are going to see some details, not all the details, but those that I consider interesting to share with you in this talk. We started this tracking this campaign because many of you maybe know that in January there was a massive campaign abusing Google Ads platform, where the threat actors were able to, let's say, offer their websites as a first result after looking for something in Google. So let's imagine that you were looking for TeamViewer, a platform used to remote access tool and manage some computers remotely. And the first result is not the legit result, it's a fake website made by threat actors, and you access to the website and you download the file. Probably if it was in January, maybe you were infected because there was a massive campaign doing this operation. But the fun fact here is that in order to promote some website in Google Ads, there are people behind Google looking for the website that the people is trying to promote, and if they are looking for malicious content. If there are malicious content in the website, they are not going to publish this into the first result at Google. But what the threat actors were doing was they were promoting first a website without any kind of malware or phishing, let's say a legit website, and that website was just acting as a proxy to redirect the user to the fake website. So if you were looking for TeamViewer and you click in the first result promoted by the threat actors, you were going to be redirected to the benign website, which has not any kind of malware, and after that you're going to be redirected to the fake website with the malware. So that was the modus operandi made by the threat actors in this case. As you can see here in this slide, there was a massive domain registered between December, January, related to the Google Ads campaign. After that, we saw, because we were monitoring the IP addresses and register of the domains, and after that we observed that the campaign related to Google Ads stopped, but we observed another campaign related to Spain starting in the same infrastructure. For that reason, we started to researching this campaign. Threat actors were using the same infrastructure, and when I say same infrastructure, I mean as, for example, the same IP address. That IP address was used to register the domains under the Spanish campaign and also under the Google Ads campaign, which is quite interesting for us. They were also using the same technique. First, we observed domains registered with Spanish cities in the name, doing nothing, doing just redirect to the fake websites which belongs to the Spain tax agency. So the motivation, or let's say the procedure used in this case for the Spanish campaign, was exactly the same that we have observed for the Google Ads campaign. How this intrusion started? They were sending emails using this email spoofing technique, where, as you can see, the front email looks like it's the legged one. In fact, it's the legged one, but in this case, they are using email spoofing, and if you look into the headers in the email, you are going to see that they were using emails related to Gmail and also emails related to public and banning websites of other companies compromised previously. In the body, the yellow boxes, you can see that there are two different links. The links that we have observed usually were different in the emails. Other times we saw the link was exactly the same. And in this case, we are observing two different links. One is referring Barcelona, the other one is referring Madrid. As I said before, those domains are doing nothing, are just doing redirection to the phishing website. So in order to understand it better, we are going to see the entire campaign, the entire modus operandi made by the threat actors is this one. So let's start with the phase one. The phase one is related when the threat actors were trying to compromise public web service from different companies, not only from Spain, but also from whatever other place in the world. And they were looking for LF5 vulnerabilities and R5 vulnerabilities in order to upload files into the web server. The file that we were trying to upload was an exploit to get privilege escalation into the server. And once they had access to the server, they deploy and they upload also a script in PHP, and that script was made to send emails. Yes, so they were infecting multiple machines to store a PHP script just to send emails to the victims. Okay, so in this way, they are going to avoid use Gmail accounts or Outlook accounts. They are going to use legged accounts referring to some specific organization, legged organization, maybe not related with the victims, but not Gmail or Outlook account generic. The second phase was when the web servers were sending information. So remember, they are not sending the information from their computers. They are sending the email from the computers previously infected. And the victims that we have observed were from multiple industries. We are going to see the industries after that. So all the companies that we have observed were Spanish, because the campaign was related to the Spain tax agency at the end. The next phase is the number 3, where the user opens the email and clicks on the link. So let's imagine that some user click on some of the links in the email, and they are going to be redirected to some domain doing a redirection to the phishing one. So for example, in the email they are going to see a link. The link will be going to, for example, medicalmadrid.com. It's one of the domains that we have observed. That domain is doing the redirection to the fake Spain tax agency website previously created by the threat actors, which is the last phase, where they have registered some domains, all of them with the word agencia 3, in order to get confidence with the users and try to avoid some detections in the system deployed in the organizations. This is how the phishing looks like. It's an example. As you can see, the domain is not the legged one. The TLD is .live in this case. And when the user comes to the phishing, automatically the email is filled with the same email which was sent the phishing. So the user just has to complete the password, and once the password is set in the text box, automatically is going to be redirected to the legged page of the Spain tax agency. Another important thing here is that if you try to access to these websites without any Spanish IP address, you are not going to see the result. This campaign was only focused on Spanish people, only in people with IPs from Spain. So if you were trying to access with a French IP, the content is not showing to you. they are going to try avoid some, let's say, analysis from other vendor or company outside from Spain. So that was the modus operandi of this group. The most affected victims that we have observed were those industry. First one was the technology one, but we have also saw that there were some public institutions here in Spain, in Madrid and in Barcelona, affected by this campaign. And the TLD of the victims that we have observed are the next one. Just to comment, the .cat TLD, which is related to Catalonia, is not representative because at the end there are many companies in Catalonia using the .com TLD. So, for example, as I said in the beginning of this presentation, there were like between the 20 and 30% of the companies based in Catalonia affected by this specific campaign. Final goals of the threat actors during this campaign was get access to the emails, and from that do whatever other activity like sell the information or maybe use the email compromise to send new malware to other victims. So the goals in order to deploy malware, when they want to deploy some malware using the email compromise previously, they are going to usually deploy RATs, InfoStealer, and spyware. And we saw some emails previously infected in this campaign, sending emails to another companies to distribute malware. For example, this was, I have, this information is not public, so I try to avoid the victim and also the previous organization compromise. In this case, is just an example of email. The email which is sending this specific message was previously served in the campaign that we have tracked. So they were using this email, previously in fact, to distribute, in this case, an InfoStealer. They were distributing a GoLoader InfoStealer, which is, let's say, is maybe a downloader InfoStealer, two kind of families. The file attached, in this case, a RAR file, a compressed file with a binary inside. Once the user clicks on the compressed file and click on the binary, he's going to be infected, and there will start another different infection into the organization. Another example that we have shared, in this case, distributing Agent Tesla, which is a RAT for another company here in Spain. So some different there are different examples that we are providing in order to show how the cyber criminals are using, in this case, the emails previously infected to distribute new malware to new companies. This is the graphic from VirusTotal. This is, as you can see, there are, let's say, from the beginning of 2023, January, we have observed that they're increasingly using InfoStealers and RATs. Specifically in this case, we are observing Agent Tesla and GoLoader, how it is increasingly used by the threat actors. So, in fact, 2 days ago, there was a massive upload of malware related to Agent Tesla and GoLoader in Spain in VirusTotal. So maybe related to some campaign that other threat actors are doing right now. And just to finish the presentation, as we could see, there were some emails used previously, in fact, to distribute new malware, but in this case we have observed also in the dark web some users trying to sell information stolen previously in the campaign that we have analyzed. So it's just another example of how the threat actors are using this information that we were tracking in this campaign against the Spain tax agency. So another thing that I want to highlight is that we have shared with the Computer Incident Response of Catalonia and also with the National Intelligence Center of Spain all the victims and all the entire information to inform to the victims that they were targeted by this campaign and these threat actors. So that's all from my side. Here you have my social media if you want to contact with me. Thank you so much.
So, are there any questions? I have a question. So, let's say that you find out about the campaign that is underway. Then what is your role? How do you work with the government to avoid it or to mitigate it? What are the steps that...
What you mean? How we communicate with the government to share the information?
Yeah, or you just do this for for BlackBerry and you give it to the public, or do you have some internal channels to also alert them before?
Yeah, obviously these kind of campaigns, when there are, let's say, some motivation, or it's not necessarily some motivation. Usually, when we are tracking these kind of campaigns against some government or some country or whatever, before we publish anything related to the campaign, we inform to the security incident response of the country specifically, or maybe to the National Intelligence Center of the country, in order to get as much information as possible and try to cooperate with them to get the threat actors behind the campaign. So it's not easy sometimes to attribute this kind of campaign to some specific threat actor or group or whatever, even if it is more related to cybercrime. Cybercrime is not easy to attribute because it's like there are a lot of cybercrime every day. It's not like some APT that you are tracking, or you know how they are operating usually, the TTPs and so on. So what we are doing to this kind of campaign is share with the country, with the government, and try to cooperate to attribute the campaign to some specific threat actor or group of threat actors.
And from your point of view, what do you think is going to be the next big thing from the attacker's perspective? So is phishing going to continue to be top one, let's say? Or? In
my opinion, yes, because as I said before, there are multiple markets, and we are going to see probably more markets in the future. As much markets that we are going to see, as much, probably more phishing that we are going to see in the future, because sometimes the motivation behind the phishing is just money. So if there is money in the market, they are going to probably do or create more phishing websites to steal credentials and emails from the victim. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I see the questions. Let me bring the...
Thank you for the presentation. It actually brought me back to a presentation I saw a while ago in DEF CON about owning the bad guys. I think you said this one. Owning the bad guys with JavaScript botnets. It was by this guy who was from Madrid. I think he was a white hat hacker.
Nice.
Chema Alonso.
In the last PodConf.
Exactly.
Right.
DEF CON in 2013 or something like that, whereby he was actually tricking the phishing attackers into basically that he actually got owned by them, and then he used some reverse code in order to gain access and turn them into botnets.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that was really good. One thing that you have highlighted about the phishing is a big problem, especially in the UK. We have witnessed, and I think the whole Europe has witnessed this ransomware attack that actually was caused by a phishing that's basically promising people that if they click on a link or if they fill out a form, they will get something out of it. And we ended up with a whole health system, booking system for the NHS, actually, a whole appointment system being actually shut down. People's appointments basically went chaotic. People turned back to paper-based. And more than that, these attacks actually, from what I have seen, I was doing some research recently on how phishing could actually cause more damages, is that what if it actually attacks critical systems like we're talking about here, we're talking about SCADA systems. And this has probably happened in Iran before, Stuxnet, remember that one?
Exactly.
Yeah, so all these patterns, if we are now basically evolving towards these APTs or these governors, advanced penetration threats. Now we have something that is basically more sophisticated than phishing, which is a zero-click attack. That's basically targeted probably French officials, French government officials. It has targeted Spanish government officials, but how actually how can we stop these things? Because now it's becoming regulated that a company could basically turn up and say, well, I'm selling not a zero-day exploit, but I'm selling a whole package of a software that can actually get you, without having to promise people this phishing, you can actually you can just attack just by using my software. So even script kids could use these things just by selling it to either states that they consider to be, for example, friends at some point. So how do you see this threat to be eliminated, this threat of, let's say, the zero-click attacks? Because it eliminates the phishing method that would give rat access to the user. Sorry for
No, it's okay. It's not easy. Let's say try to avoid all the phishing websites that are happening right now. Obviously, there are multiple sources like Aristotle. Proofpoint has a really nice platform to avoid phishing websites distributed by emails. But yeah, I totally agree with you, because at the end, the user are the first, let's say, chain into the entire chain. So if they don't have security awareness, this is going to happen every day, as we are seeing. So even as you said, we and the blog is published, we could determine, for example, in this campaign, some of the IP addresses used to send the email, because there is a function in the send email function in PHP. There is a feature that if you call the script to send an email, there will be added automatically a header into the email, and in the header you have the IP which is calling the script, and all the IP address that we saw were Spanish IP address. We have shared that with the police in Spain in order to try to get the attribution behind this campaign. And yeah, so like probably the Chema Alonso talk was amazing. So yeah, thank you so much.
Minor questions, great presentation, thank you. But my main question with all of this is that I understand that security companies are doing a great job in understanding and try to mitigate, let's say, everything in the phishing campaigns. But what is your takeaway with regard to training the simple user, the everyday user that would be most vulnerable to these attacks? Because, for instance, a user like you or the background that has a background in cybersecurity will most probably not fall for the very simple phishing emails. But what happens for the simple users? Because I can see that there is a big increase in cybersecurity companies that they are trying to keep up with the ever-growing pace, but there is not that big of an increase with regard to training the simple users.
What we used to do in the past was obviously security training, as you said, but also red team exercise, where we emulate behaviors, real behaviors related to some threat actors using email or whatever other activity. So red team exercise were or help us to understand the different departments into the company to see where we are having lack of training or lack of knowledge about cybersecurity. So obviously it's not the final, let's say, mitigation to avoid the phishing, but obviously red team exercise can help to try to avoid this kind of phishing. And obviously platforms. So as I said before, Proofpoint has a really nice platform which can automatically, not all the phishing, but maybe a high percent of the phishing, automatically block the link into the email. So maybe will be another feature that you can incorporate in your network.
So the key question, let's say, here is how willing are organizations like BlackBerry or bigger organizations that cope with intelligence to create training material that would be freely available to simple users in order to allow them to keep up. Obviously, okay, there will be some users that they will not care about this.
Yeah.
But if there can be a collaborative effort that big organizations can provide free material, actually good free material, not the one that is currently out there, I think it would be really good and would help a lot with all these.
I'm not sure, but I think, for example, ENISA has some good material related to training about phishing and how detect the phishing website and so on. But yeah, you say free material, but at the end, vendors free is not money. So, but yeah, totally agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would also like to thank Xavi for having us and the whole team from UPC. Great place, great venue. Thank you for having us. This is the wrap of IOSec 2023. Thank you for being here. And after that, we have the FISI workshop, right? And then there is the SIN 2023. So thank you all. Great work to everybody that did the presentation and had the papers accepted here. See you next year. Thank you very much.